Welcome back to The Cabin Podcast. I'm Andrea Belke.
And I'm Megan Christian.
The Cabin is brought to you by the Wisconsin Counties Association and the WCA Group Health Trust. And today we're going to the farm. Well, not really going to the farm, but we're bringing the farm to us.
Yes. As many of you may know, June is Dairy Month in Wisconsin, and we thought there is literally no better person to bring on than Michelle Miller, the farm babe. Welcome to the cabin.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. We were kind of doing research on who we should bring on next and came across you and just thought you were the perfect fit.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, you have such an interesting story. And I feel like it's similar to mine too, where you grew up in Wisconsin, right? In Oshkosh.
Yep.
And then you ended up going far away. You went to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And then now you're full circle back at the farm.
Yeah, pretty much. Farm advocacy. That's my jam.
Yeah. So what exactly happened that brought you to LA and then brought you back to doing all this work in farm advocacy?
Yeah. In high school, you take those aptitude tests with your teachers and guidance counselors, and they all told me I should work in agriculture. So I didn't grow up on a farm, but a lot of my friends were farm kids. So we would ride horses and do chores, and I was involved in 4-H. And so I loved farming growing up. But I just really wanted to see what life was like outside of Wisconsin. So I went to college in LA and I got a fashion degree. I worked for Gucci on Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills because that's what Oshkosh farm kids do, right? So I worked for Gucci. I worked in the fashion industry. I moved to downtown Chicago. I worked for Saks. I had a sales career. So all these things is trying to find my path. And then I became kind of this globe-trotting bartender. So I moved to Pensacola Beach and I was bartending on this beautiful white sand beach island tiki bar. I was living the dream, traveling the world. So I made a goal to visit all 7 continents by the time I was 30. So I became really fascinated with food and culture and travel through a lot of that. I've been to 70 countries now. And
that's insane.
Yeah. So I've always really loved that. But I've always found myself pulled to the farming part of different countries. And I ended up dating a farmer. So I met a guy when I was bartending down in Florida who was a 6th generation farmer in Northeast Iowa. And so I was kind of brought back to Wisconsin, right? I would run all my errands in Prairie du Chien, we were right outside of the Wisconsin border. And so I became a farmer. And, when you're living in LA and Chicago, it's really easy to fall victim to a lot of misinformation. And I was, like a lot of people who don't really get a chance to talk to farmers, I was, I would only buy organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, hormone-free, all of the labels, any food label under the sun, was what I believed. And then when I became a farmer and he was like, GMOs do great things for farmers. And I was like, what? I couldn't, and he was learning, I was learning from him and farmers in my community that they're like, oh my God, we're using fewer pesticides than we ever have. It's amazing. GMOs are great technology, And I was like, what? That's the opposite of what I heard as a Los Angeles, Chicago girl that was your personal trainer is you better go gluten-free, and a lot of it's just BS. It's just marketing, and food labels are just marketing, and they're just there to sell you a food product. There's no such thing as added hormones in chicken. Organic doesn't mean pesticide-free. All of these things you just keep diving into. And I became super passionate about telling the truth about agriculture because a lot of people don't get to hear the farmer side of it. They just hear well, I hear this is bad. I hear that's bad. And I was like, is it though? Let's do a deeper dive directly from the source, from the farmers, from the scientists, the veterinarians, being boots on the ground with the farmers is where you're going to get your most accurate information. So I've been doing that 11 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. So it started off as a blog and then it just grew from there. To, I'm a keynote speaker and have a podcast and, author, social media content creator. And I get to travel the world with the world's coolest career, getting to go to farms and tell the story of all of that and where our food comes from. So it's been an amazing journey.
Yeah. So you grew up in Wisconsin. I'm kind of curious, what growing up here was like for you.
Oh, so good. Yeah. I feel like people from our state are really proud. There's a lot of pride and it was safe and clean. And I love going back to Oshkosh and seeing how much it's grown over the years and all the people that moved to Oshkosh from, Oregon or Washington or whatever. And they're like, Oshkosh is such a great place. And it's it really is. And you really kind of take it for granted of it's, if it's all you're like, oh, whatever, it's Oshkosh. I've been to 70 countries. And I'm like, Oshkosh is pretty freaking cool, actually. You know what I mean? Like, it's so clean. There's something to do every night of the week. Like, you'd have a hard time being bored in Oshkosh,
right?
You know? So I love it.
Did it take kind of going out and seeing the world to then appreciate what you have here?
Yeah, totally.
So how hands-on do you get when you're like boots on the ground with these farmers?
Very hands-on. Yeah.
Like, tell me some of the things that you're doing with them.
Oh gosh, so much. Well, my work as a social media influencer takes me to a lot of like, so for example, like the Idaho Potato Commission or the Texas Cotton Growers or like, you know, North Carolina Sweet Potato Commission. Every state has different marketing boards and different people that are there to promote whatever that is. You know, the Wisconsin Corn Growers, you know, something like that, where they have a budget set aside to tell their story. And so as a social media influencer, I get to work, you know, with the researchers, with the scientists, going to the factories, going to all of the places to learn, you know, like what does apple harvest look like? And they want to tell that story. They want to connect with consumers. And so to your point of you're bringing the farm to you, I bring the farm to my followers via social media. So it's like, here I am in Michigan. We're harvesting apples today. Oh my gosh, look at this. Did you know? Fun fact.
Yeah.
1 acre of apples can produce da-da-da. And so it's just like, people just go, wow, you know, or they think, well, aren't apples just full of all those pesticides? And I was like, well, let me tell you what happens after we harvest. You know, you bring the temperature of the apple down by washing it in this cold, and then that stops. You know what I mean? So there's so many things going on behind the scenes to protect the integrity of foods when we harvest them, and just to make sure that we're storing things right, to extend the longevity and the shelf life. So I think sometimes people are like, oh my God, I bought these fruits and they haven't gone bad yet. Is there something, is it a GMO? Is it like a weird, and it's like, no, you probably just did a really good job of not breaking the cold chain. You know, like if you get it and you bring it to 55 degrees and it's stored at 55 degrees from the packing house to the grocery store to your car, and you didn't leave it sit in a 90-degree car for half the day, you brought it home and put it in your fridge right away, you're going to have that longer shelf life of your produce because you didn't let it get too hot or too cold. You did a good job of keeping the temperature of that fruit correct. So therefore, that's why it lasted longer. Or maybe it was just harvested at the right time, or, you know, so it's neat to see and learn about like how that all happens.
Yeah. I'd be curious, since you were living in Los Angeles and then Chicago, just in general, what did you find people's perceptions were of Wisconsin farms?
Well, cheeseheads. It was so funny moving from Wisconsin to California. And like, you know, California is the best dairy state. And I was like, no, it's not. And like technically it is, but like, can you just give us the damn cheese? Like, give us our one thing. Like, you're California. You have mountains and beaches and celebrities and like Hollywood. Like, I'm from Wisconsin. Can we just have our cheese curds? Like, just give me this one thing.
Because technically, doesn't California beat Wisconsin in production
Yes.
of dairy products?
Oh, yes. Correct,
but we make the best cheese. So
that is true. There, I think a lot of people don't realize that actually California does.
California is actually kind of a cool agriculture state, but don't tell anybody I said that.
Well, it's huge. Like, there's a lot of farmland there
220 different commodities. I mean, like the salad bowl capital of the world. Like when you go to these vegetable farms in Northern California, like when that lettuce is ripe for the picking, literally, it is like candy delicious, like straight out of the field. Oh my God. And my friends always laugh at me because I can be in like a restaurant and I'll eat a salad and I'll be like, oh my God, this is Northern California romaine. This is so good. And they're like, how do you know? And I'm like, watch. Like I can tell you if I'm eating like lamb or beef, I can tell you like what it was fed. Just by the taste, or like where the fruits or vegetables were grown, when they were harvested. Like, this is so good. This strawberry is so good. Why is this so good? Because they're in season in Florida right now, and I'm in Florida, so it's just a really fresh, juicy strawberry that's in season.
Wait, you can tell what an animal was fed?
Mm-hmm,
Wait, can you talk about that with like beef, for example?
Well, like I raised cattle and sheep, and I think for me, it's a little bit easier with lamb than it is beef because we're such a beef like country. We eat so much beef in this country. But like, I mean, like a corn finish versus a grass finished steak, you know, but lamb especially because I think a lot of restaurants brag about like we have New Zealand lamb, we have Australian lamb, and it sounds so cool, but it's like, yeah, you ever had like a good Midwest corn finished lamb chop? Like, you know what I mean? It's the fat, the juiciness. It's like you can brag about a steak being like the best marbled. I know everybody's going to go home and like eat steak right now. They're like, you're making me hungry for a steak or a lamb chop. But like, yeah, we raised cattle and sheep commercially on our farm. I dated the farmer for like 8 years, right? And then we broke up, and I travel all the time anyway. But it's it's been really cool just to like go from that farm life, and then I was selling beef and lamb direct to consumer at farmers markets. So I was doing that. And people would be like, that is the best lamb I've ever had. And I was like, that's because we finish them on grain, like corn-fed steak, corn-fed beef. Corn-finished lamb is exceptional. And it's just so fresh and, like any farmer will tell you, like eggs are better off the farm. Beef is better off the farm, right? Like fresh off. Everything comes from a farm.
Yeah.
But there's nothing tastier than like your own backyard eggs, like.
Well, that kind of leads me to, I feel a lot of times when people go to a grocery store and they're trying to pick out chicken or beef, and there's all these things cage-free, organic, or grass-fed. I mean, what are the things we actually should be looking out for?
I think buying local, first and foremost, is really important. To support your local farmers is great, whether that's in your community or at the grocery store looking for USA grown. A lot of times, food companies or like the large scale grocery chains will source from third world countries because it's so much cheaper for them. And so like, okay, the Michigan Asparagus Committee, I did some work with them, right? And basically their farmers were like, look, like when we harvest this asparagus, we got 6 weeks, it's not like corn that you can store in a silo for a year or two, right? It's asparagus is like buy local, because like if you don't buy from us, and we lose that 6-week window, you know what I mean? And so it's like, I get it that you have to source asparagus from Peru or wherever in other parts of the year, but just understanding the importance of supporting, like if you have Michigan grown asparagus next to foreign grown, like just support farmers, because the best thing that we can do is encourage your local grocery store chain to be like, hey, blueberries are in season. Why do these say product of Peru? So that's important. But I don't personally buy anything that says organic personally. Unless it's like a good friend or something, but I don't really like the marketing. I think a lot of people think organic is pesticide free and GMOs are so bad. So they capitalize on that fear and misinformation to sell a product. So it's like, do they want you to pay 3 times more for your groceries? Absolutely. And so I have learned that, if you talk directly to some of these farmers, they're spraying organics like pretty regularly. We think that apples are delicious, and so do bugs, so we have to be able, pesticides have been used for thousands of years. The good news is that they're getting targeted, more specific, safer, softer. We're doing a lot of good things. And apples in particular make a good example because they're instantly, once they're harvested, they're washed like right away. And so there's a lot of checks and balances. But I would say like, if it says non-GMO, I'm putting it back on the shelf. GMOs are invented to reduce pesticide use or save plants from disease, be more drought tolerant, flood tolerant, and some of the world's poorest farmers that don't have the beautiful Wisconsin soils like we do, don't have that luxury.
Yeah.
So we've got to be able to keep moving forward with science and tell the story of science and embrace it, because we lose 3 acres of farmland every minute in this country to urban development, and we need to preserve our farmers, and they need to have access to the tools in their toolbox to keep people fed.
Yeah. People are so into like organic things and sustainable practices. From you, because you're the expert, what are some sustainable practices that people should know about that farmers are doing in the country?
Yeah, great question. Well, in the livestock sector, there's a lot of things going on to harvest methane, right? So that's kind of the talk of sustainability, eat less beef. There's a lot of myths and misinformation. So according to the EPA, the actual statistics of the agriculture sector is 10% of U.S. greenhouse gas emissions come from agriculture. 4% come from livestock, and just over 2% come from cattle. So they make this big blown out thing like But the good news is that for some of these larger scale, like dairy or, swine, they're able to trap that manure into these, methane, almost like lagoons, and they turn it into a methane digester that captures that methane. So now it's not only is it not going into the environment, but it's being recycled into fuel or renewable energy. So, livestock, they give us beef or pork or whatever, but also we get lotions and textiles and soaps and musical instrument strings and like sporting goods, like everything that we use. And that light, I mean, the carpet fibers could come from sheep, that light could come from a methane digester. I mean, everything around us, I don't think people realize just how much. I mean, this could come from the livestock byproduct for all we know. I mean, it's incredible what we can reuse and recycle. Like, it's not just meat, it's everything. And so that's pretty cool, sustainability wise. Is like livestock are pretty awesome in that regards, for being the ultimate recyclers and and giving us so much more than just meat. And then regenerative, I mean, regenerative is kind of like the newest buzzword, but there is a lot of truth to it. It's kind of like natural. When natural came out, it was like, buy all natural, and then organic came out, and then it's like, buy organic, and now it's like regenerative. It's like there's always the newest buzzword or trend. It was gluten-free for a while, so we're constantly jumping on these trains and these bandwagons, and then the big corporations get a hold of it and then kind of water it down. And then it's like organic started in a good place, but now it's kind of like, just slap an organic sticker on it, I mean, and there is a lot of checks and balances in place for organic. I'm not going to say there isn't, but getting back to the point, regenerative is amazing. So when I was farming in Iowa, we had earned awards for Farmers of the Year for soil and water conservation. So 30 years of no-till, when you're not disrupting that soil and you're utilizing cover crops and you're learning the balance of the soil, where you're really focusing on the soil biology over chemistry. You're not going to find any farmer out there that's like, I really want to spray pesticides today. Like, it's always any farmer's last resort. They're expensive. Nobody wants to use them. Like, nobody's sitting here saying, yay, chemicals. Like, nobody. Even the chemical companies, believe it or not. They're like, they're dipping their toes into regenerative. And they're like, okay, this is where we're trending. Let's do this. Let's figure out the biologicals. What can we sell to enrich the soil? Because now we have ways to track hundreds of data points in the soil. No longer are we just saying, NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium as your main nutrients in the corn plant. You're saying, what about all these other things in the microbiome of the soil? And what about, you know what I mean? So the research on that is really cool, that we're able to be better environmental stewards, I think, than ever before. Like no-till cover crops, crop rotation, there are still some farmers, of course, that are growing like corn on corn on corn every year. But as we're getting into like the newer generation and newer technologies, they're starting to tell grandpa like, hey, I'm taking over this farm. And by the way, we're going to switch things up a little, because they're a little bit more innovative and on trend with the technology and the latest research for soil health.
I feel that you are very disruptive in the space, which is a good thing, right? So you probably get a lot of pushback on things. What would you say are the topics that sometimes people will kind of come at you for, or say, well, I feel strongly about this and you're preaching this, and like, how do you kind of manage that?
Yeah, great question. I actually don't get a ton of pushback.
Oh, that's great.
That's great.
Which is weird.
I would think that people that were very pro organic and natural would be kind of upset, but maybe if you come in with a lot of facts, then you can't really argue it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and I think it's really important to have an open mind and listen to each other. And I think, and I speak at organic conferences, right? Like I'm not like anti-organic farming in a sense of the practices. I'm just against it in terms of bad marketing, to say everything is toxic by organic. And it's like, are you going to tell the consumer that you're still spraying pesticides, or should I? Because like it hurts their profits. It doesn't hurt mine. I ain't selling nothing. I work for me. That's it. And so I think that would be some of the pushback I get, is they're like, how much does Monsanto pay you to promote GMOs? And I was like, oh my God, if I hear this one more time, I'm like, no, we pay Monsanto. Like, that's like, we pay the chemical companies. Like, we're the farmers talking about farming. We're the experts. Like, nobody has to pay me to tell you the truth. Like, I just want you to support and understand what we do. that we're out there. Like, we don't want to be paying these companies, right? Like, can you please make our input costs cheaper? Like, we need cheaper seed, we need cheaper tractors, you know? So yes, there's some of that. And then probably some of the larger scale farms, like people have very outdated information. They think that chickens are just like pumped full of hormones or antibiotics. Like, hormones have not been used in poultry or pork since the 1950s. So these food companies are still slapping the label on there, no added hormones or steroids. But if you read the asterisks in the fine print, federal law strictly prohibits the use of hormones in poultry. It's not even a thing.
Whoa.
And they think that, oh, these animals are just raised in these cruel, torturous conditions, and, you know, and we're just pumping them full of antibiotics. And like, the biggest players are raising millions of chickens with no antibiotics ever. And it's not because we're pumping them full of crap. It's just because we've learned how to make their space cleaner, like biosecurity, where you cannot enter a chicken farm from outside in case you bring in some type of bacteria on your shoe or something. There's better genetics, there's better ventilation, housing. The research behind chicken farming is insane. I worked with the poultry science department, like University of Georgia, Auburn, like down there is really great for poultry education. But they know, the research shows, like, so when your chickens are 0 to 14 days, they should be at this temperature. And when they're 14 days to this, and they know exactly what temperature should be at what stage of growth. And they've got the feed down to a science of exactly what nutrition we need to give to make them maximize the rate of gain. That's part of the ongoing research to say, how can we produce more with less, be more sustainable, and really keep chicken care top of mind. I think people don't realize the technology, or like a pig farm that can look at everything inside their barn from their smartphone and know, like, our lights, their lighting, their ventilation, their housing, their curtains that go up and down, the manure that drops through the pits so they're not laying in their own feces like they used to decades ago, right? So somebody can say, oh, I grew up on my grandpa's farm and it was so gross. And it's like, what year was that? In 1965. And it's like, yeah, that's like comparing a rotary phone to an iPhone 13. Like, what are we on now? 16?
Yeah.
I think I was like, whoa, iPhone 13, that's so old. Yeah. So it's just like technology is improving every aspect of our lives, and agriculture is no exception. It's beautiful. So I really love to tell that story.
So what is stress? What's your thought on stress? Like, when the animals have stress in their environment and how that gets infused into the meat. What are your thoughts on that?
Great question. Lots of truth to that, for sure. So yeah, we want animals as calm and stress-free and relaxed as possible, because that is how you produce the best meat. You can have like tough meat or delicate, delicious meat based on the stress level.
The Cabin is brought to you by the Wisconsin Counties Association, and this week we are featuring Juneau County. Nestled in the heart of the state, Juneau County is rich in history. Founded in 1857, it's named after Solomon Juneau, a fur trader and one of Milwaukee's founding fathers. But the history goes much further back. Native American tribes like the Ho-Chunk lived here for centuries, drawn to the lush forests and river valleys. And here, the wild spirit of the frontier is still thriving. You can explore Castle Rock Lake, Wisconsin's 4th largest lake, perfect for boating and fishing. You can also check out Petenwell Lake, which is Wisconsin's 2nd largest lake, and it covers over 23,000 acres. If you are a history buff, step back in time at the Borman House Museum in Mauston. If you love wildlife, you can check out the Necedah National Wildlife Refuge, which spans over 43,000 acres. From cranberry bogs and ATV trails to festivals and supper clubs, Juneau County is where Wisconsin's wild beauty and friendly communities shine. For more information, go to wicounties.org.
The Cabin is also brought to you by the WCA Group Health Trust. Serving local governments and school districts, the WCA Group Health Trust partners closely with members to fulfill their employee health benefit obligations in a fiscally responsible manner. Learn more at wcaght.org.
Well, you were kind of talking about animals, you want the least amount of stress as possible. And I was on your Instagram page, and I think you had done a video about cows. They like having friends, which I think is so cute.
Yeah, gosh, yeah. I know, it really is.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, they're herd animals, I mean, especially kind of like the dairy world. I mean, they're all they're all just a bunch of ladies, you know, and they're
Girls
cycling
hanging out.
and they're like cycling together, and it's their sorority, you know.
I
So,
love
like,
it.
Yeah, it really is true. And they're creatures of habit. So even though you have this dairy farm, and that's another cool thing is modern dairies and the cow comfort, you know, that they're laying on sand bedding, you know, that's recycled and all that. But yeah, they know where their home is. They have robotic milkers and these little trackers on their neck that can track hundreds of data points. So we know how many steps she took, how many times she chewed her cud, how much milk she produced. So that way you have it all built into this computer database on these larger farms where the veterinarian can say, ooh, cow number 135 didn't move much today. I should go check on her. Because when you have so many, how do you know that they're all doing great?
Yeah.
But that cow 135, you know, they know right where she is because that's where she chooses to lay and take her nap and chew her cud. And so she's like, time to get milk, so she can go up and know that she can milk herself. And they get a treat when it's time to milk. So they like doing it. Like they can tell they can do it themselves. And then the computer might also say, yeah, you don't get a treat. You were just here, you know? So it can also sense based on that tracking, how often they get milk and then where they go back and like where they hang out.
Wow, these are some high tech facts.
Yeah,
I'm kind of like curious what your thoughts are on like the automatic milking farms. Have you seen those? I know there's one in Wisconsin.
There's a lot of them everywhere. Yeah. I actually went to a dairy farm out in Idaho that is completely hands off. Like it's completely robotic. They have a viewing room where humans can go up and like watch it from overhead, but it's like an educational tool, and they really pride themselves on being like the first, you know, like human contactless for, you know, like totally no human intervention unless there's like a medical need for it. But I'm sorry, what did you ask?
Just like, what are your thoughts on it? Do you think there's benefit to having like humans not do it?
I think it's just a matter of personal preference. You know, some dairy farmers are dairy farmers because they want to be in the barn with their cows every day, and that's what they love. And you know, I have friends that milk 50 cows and that's just their life and it's what they love to do. God bless them, you know. And then other people choose to scale, and the robots are very expensive. And so it's, you know, what's your ROI? You kind of have to milk a lot of cows to offset the cost of those robots. But for some people, it just makes sense. They want to do it from a business perspective. And the sensors, like if a cow walks in, the sensors of one of these machines will automatically pull out the sensors and put it on the teats. And it sounds cool and it looks cool, but it'll automatically clean her teats. It'll automatically milk her. It'll automatically clean when she's done. And it's just... And she just stands there and just, you know, it's crazy. It's it's really neat.
We were talking not too long ago on the podcast about a common thing that people don't know is that like a cow has to be pregnant in order to milk it. Like a lot of people in Wisconsin for some reason don't know that.
They don't know that.
I grew up on a farm, so for me that was just very
that was
common knowledge.
Yeah.
But since I grew up on a farm, a lot of these things I just take for granted because I'm like, oh, of course.
Yeah.
Are there things like that you'll find people that have never been on a farm just don't understand, and it seems like really obvious?
Yeah. Well, that's definitely one of them. It's just like, and it just sometimes people lose like their common sense sometimes, you know, when they're just like, like all those GMOs, they're just drenched in all these chemicals. And it's like, dude, if we were drenching our fields in chemicals, we would go broke, you know? But I think a lot of times farmers are disconnected from the disconnect. Like they don't see, I think that's why I love what I do or why I have a different perspective, because it's like, you know, I showed up on the farm and we turned the bull out to pasture when we had a cow calf operation. We had beef feedlots, and we also had cows on pasture that were used just for breeding, and then we would use the calves and finish out the calves for beef, and the cows were just used for our calves, for producing the calves. And you turn the bull out. I mean, some people use artificial insemination to get the bull the bull happiness juice over to the lady, but we just did it the old fashioned way, and we go, here you go, Joe, do your thing. And our bull Joe would get off the trailer and he'd look around and he would moo, and you just see all the ladies running up the hill like ready, and it's
Joe was a hot commodity.
Joe did a good job. We had Joe for a long time. He was a stud. I thought that was the coolest thing I've ever seen, to see like this 2,500 pound animal like just get down in the grass and roll around and kick up his feet and be like, it's freaking showtime. Like, and my boyfriend at the time, who had raised cattle all of his life, was just like, we're just turning the bull out. And I was like, you're turning the bull out. I'm on the phone to my friends in Los Angeles. Yo, next year, 4th of July, we're having a bull party. Like, this is so fun to watch. So I think a lot of it is just like farmers, like, taking it for granted, like, you know, oh, like the cowboy culture is so cool and it's so trending, like with Yellowstone and all of like the modern farmhouse trend. Like, we're making ranching cool in society, which is so exciting. And then like you go and you meet real life cowboys and you're like, wow, this is what it is in the movies. And like, no, it's really not. Like, the movies are like a 6-pack abs, like, you know what I mean? Like tipping his hat, going on Farmer Wants a Wife or whatever. And then you go to the ranch and they're just like covered in manure. They haven't showered all day. Their hat's all full of crap.
Yeah. Well, and it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. You know, God bless him.
My dad is a full-time farmer, and he's just always on the farm from when he wakes up to when he goes to bed.
Yeah.
You know, and we're not even from a dairy farm, but dairy farmers, if you don't have all the machines, I mean, you're getting up so early in the morning, and you can't miss it because that's painful and really dangerous for the cows.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you have to be there. I'm thankful I never had dairy cows.
I know. I always say that
I
too.
was like, ooh,
I have
God
so much
bless
respect.
them. I know, so much respect. I love me some dairy products. And like June is dairy month, right?
Yeah.
So this is exciting. But yeah, like I couldn't do it. God bless the dairy farmers, you know.
Yeah.
America's Dairyland. Here we are.
Yeah.
What do you think is something people should know during Dairy Month?
Well, I think just fun facts like this, like just realizing how much care and science and like those farmers that are getting up at 3 a.m. to produce milk and dairy products for you. It's a true labor of love. And, you know, a lot of farmers will say, it's in my blood. It's what I've always done. And like, there's really a lot of truth to that. I mean, there's room for everybody in agriculture. I'm always encouraging people to explore career opportunities in our beautiful industry, but it's not just like going out there and milking a cow. It's like there's a lot of cool stuff, and like any farmer will put that cow or calf's needs before themselves any day. Like, oh, you're getting married this weekend? Ooh, I might not be able to go, because they're like caring about their animals before anything. Christmas morning, we got to milk the cows first, and then we'll open presents. Any dairy kid will tell you that.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people realize how long the process is too. Like, even just for a single block of cheese, it's crazy.
Cheese factories are really awesome to tour too. And I know like some like Wisconsin cheese companies will offer tours, and I got to go behind the scenes with Prairie Farms Dairy, and like their cream cheese has won awards for like some of the best in the world. And it's really like, and like, it sounds funny to say because it's like hashtag sponsored, but because I have worked with Prairie Farms, but like what I love about them is they really pride themselves on sourcing from small local family farms. So when I farmed in Northeast Iowa, we had a Prairie Farms cheese plant that would do blocks of cheese and the cream cheese, which is so good. Like when you eat it fresh off the conveyor belt or whatever before it gets shipped to go, when you're eating it fresh and it's still warm, God, there is nothing better than, but you know, some big dairy companies will only source from like 1 or 2 very large farms. And there's nothing wrong with large farms. That is one of the myths that I love to debunk, is big farms do not mean bad farms. However, I love supporting farms of all shapes and sizes and realizing like Prairie Farms, like they'll stop at a lot of different community farms because they want to support the 40 cow, the 50 cow dairies, the 80 cow dairies, which is so funny to say, God, an 80 cow dairy, that's so small, you know? And in Europe, that's like a very average size of a dairy farm. They would never, I went to a 200 head dairy farm in Denmark, which is their biggest in the area, you know? So there's a lot of different things that we do internationally that are interesting. But I do love seeing companies like that where they're like picking up from all of these little guys and keeping them in business.
I was just on a shoot not too long ago in Mineral Point, and we went to Hook's Cheese Company. So small, and it was so interesting to just see the process. And they just have these cheeses like sitting there aging. You just really don't realize like there could be so many different people taking care of these cheeses throughout its lifetime.
And like, shout out to Wisconsin and our fresh squeaky curds. And
Yes.
like, they'll deliver locally. Like, I'm a big Car Valley cheese fan.
Yes. So is Discover Wisconsin.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, wait, we should all go around, give a shout out to either your favorite cheese or cheese store here.
Yeah.
My favorite is Hill Valley Cheese.
Okay.
And we featured them on Discover Wisconsin.
Okay.
But based in Lake Geneva area.
Okay.
And they make everything locally and they source all their other products locally. But they opened up Milwaukee Cheese Bar.
Oh.
So it's the first cheese bar, I think, in the state.
Okay.
I think it's going to be something that catches on and a lot of people start opening cheese bars.
It should. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah. But you
I
go
love
in,
that.
there's these like cheese boards, and then everything is either made by them or locally sourced. It's so
Farm to
incredible.
table.
Great pairings. And so if you're in Milwaukee or you're traveling through, Milwaukee Cheese Bar, it's incredible.
That's amazing. Mine would, I'm a little
Okay.
biased because I know the family, but Kramer Cheese Company, it's located in Watertown, and their cheeses are so creamy, delicious. My
Okay.
favorite are their little spreads, or they have this Havarti dill, which I love. But the farm is like on site where you buy the cheese. So you go to the farm to buy the cheese. It's amazing. The family's amazing. They do a lot of work for different charities. Make-A-Wish is a huge one that they support. But
Awesome.
I love the Kramers.
Yeah. Well, and I think that you said something very important there. You said, well, I know the family. And that's what we need more of, in my opinion, is in agriculture, is like, you know, a lot of farmers on social media and agriculture are telling their own farm story, which connects consumers to their. For me, I travel and tackle it all. So, like, I'm one of the only people that I know of that's traveling and tackling fruits and vegetables and dairy. But if more people connected to the farmers behind their brand, instead of like a food company just slapping a label, and you'll hear from the marketing, like the food marketers saying, well, they said that we have to put 6 labels on this package to try to sell the product. So, okay, hormone-free, organic, non-GMO, gluten-free. I'm running out of food. I'm running out of adjectives. Let's just put vegetables. And it's like, yeah, like vegan mashed potatoes. Like, you don't say. Well, and I guess in their defense, that you can add like dairy to potatoes. But anyway, you get where I'm going with this. But if more food brands were just like, buy our cheese because this is the family and we're offering transparency, all of a sudden you feel like a magical connection to them, you know?
Yeah.
I have a magical connection to Mars Cheese Castle.
I love it there.
So good.
I haven't been. What is it like?
What? You're
You
fired.
literally are driving on the highway, Andrea, and it's just this castle off the highway.
It's pretty amazing.
Like,
yeah.
is that Kenosha? Right?
Yeah. And my brother lives in Kenosha, and so I love visiting my brother because they have a bar inside the cheese castle, and they also have cheese spreads. So as you're drinking your spotted cow, it just gets passed around the bar. It's like a community, like a giant tub of spreadable cheese with crackers.
Yes.
And it's complimentary. I mean, I think they still do it. I haven't been there in a little bit, but they'll just do cheese and crackers with your beer all day. But I do love Car Valley, the really fresh squeaky curds, you know, and like, just the extra
Okay,
squeak.
I'm going to Mars Cheese Castle. That's gonna be the
I'll
next.
go
better.
with you. I need to take a trip back to the college
Well,
town.
speaking of dairy products, we have a little this or
game.
that for you.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So this is dairy edition. So
Okay.
I'm going to start off what I think should be pretty easy for a Wisconsinite. Cheese curds, fried or fresh?
Fresh.
What
All
about
right.
you?
I kind of depends on the day. If it's cold out, fried. If it's a hot summer day, fresh cheese curds all
I
the
kind of
way.
like a fried cheese curd. It's so good.
Especially like I love Culver's, you know, Culver's gives back to FFA and a lot of ag like education for kids and farming. So pro farmer. I love Culver's. So, you know, like if you're going through the drive-through and those like fried curds with ranch are pretty they can't be beat.
Yeah.
I'm partial to ranch over marinara.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
And I don't know, like I say fresh over fried probably because it's a little bit healthier. Like I try to not eat a lot of deep fried foods, which is easier said than done sometimes. But I've lost 25 pounds. I do Weight Watchers, and so I'm kind of like, you know, cheese is kind of a lot of Weight Watchers points.
I love
But I'm gonna have it anyway.
All right. Well, next we have cheese curds versus custard.
Like Culver's custard.
Whatever your favorite custard is.
Like, yeah, custard. Hands down, Culver's. How about you guys?
I like cheese curds still.
Yeah.
That's gonna always be
I'm
tough.
always going to be savory over sweet, so
Okay.
probably cheese curds
right.
too. But I love Culver's chocolate custard.
Dude, Culver's custard is so good.
It's so when it's fresh too, and it's like just kind of like a little more hard, and you gotta work for the scoop. So
This
good.
is also me throwing Weight Watchers out the window. By the way. Like, all of the custard. Oh, by the way, I'm losing weight. Bring me more ice cream.
Okay, custard or chocolate milk?
Custard.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a big milk girl, to be honest.
Why do I feel like Nick just like chugs milk?
You look like a milk chugger.
Do you look like someone that just chugs milk?
That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Yeah. He just
you
goes to
chug
the bar and orders a milk. Yeah, what can I get you? I'll do a brandy old fashioned. I'll do a spotted cow. I'll do a milk.
Wait,
I really messed up one time. So for high school, I was organizing the pep rally, and I thought it'd be really cool to do a milk chugging competition. And I had all these people from different classes come up and do a milk chugging competition. Don't recommend, because
Yeah,
they were doing
everyone's probably
a gallon
throwing
of milk,
up.
and it started out so strong, and it was such an epic idea and so cool to see these people just chugging, and then everyone got sick.
yeah.
Oh,
People were throwing up on the gymnasium floor.
Yeah, disgusting.
Pukorama.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, do not recommend.
Yeah.
Well, have you guys ever seen Love on the Spectrum?
Yeah.
So David and Abby, one of the couples, I think it's so cute because David always orders milk while Abby is drinking her Chardonnay. It's like the cutest thing ever. I love
I
it.
need to watch this.
You have to. It's awesome. Okay, we'll end with whipped cream or cottage cheese.
Wow.
Cottage cheese.
I love cottage cheese.
I am so
good.
scared of it.
Why?
Scary.
It looks scary.
Scary.
You know, non-fat cottage cheese is 0 points on Weight Watchers. And the end scene. That's the title of the episode. Did you know that? Lose weight with dairy and the Farm Babes Weight Watchers enthusiast. Hashtag not sponsored, by the way. Weight Watchers, call me.
Yeah, literally.
I did have a call with them. I was like, I really want to work with you. Can I be one of your influencer ambassadors? And they're like, yeah, we'll think about it. I was like, no, really. Pick me. Pick me.
It's like Andrea with lactate.
That's like me with lactate. So I'm actually lactose intolerant. Which
Okay.
I'd be very curious if you have any knowledge on that, or why it seems like so many people are lactose intolerant these days.
I have an excellent answer for that, which new research shows that a lot of people who believe they are lactose intolerant are actually only intolerant to the A1 protein. So cows produce two different types of proteins, an A1 and an A2. And so now if you're at the store, I would be curious for you to try A2 milk. There's a lot of milks that will say just A2. And so, yeah, so that's kind of like the coolest new thing. Is,
Wait, so what is A2 milk like commonly used in? Because I'm kind of curious about this too.
It's just going to be labeled A2 milk.
Oh,
and it's
okay.
basically just farms that have chosen to convert their herds over to just an A2 only herd. So, yeah, so cows, have A1, A2, and they say, well, you're not lactose intolerant. You're just intolerant to the A1 protein.
yeah.
Because I feel like, okay, and I don't know a lot about this, honestly, but I feel like usually people think if you're lactose intolerant, you don't have the enzyme that breaks down lactate or lactose, right?
Yeah, there's some people that say that. There's kind of like, there's a lot of different thoughts on that. And I think a lot of people think that a lot of people are lactose intolerant when like they're really kind of not. It's kind of like the gluten-free effect, or like, oh my God, everybody. It's like, no, I think it's only like a couple percentage of the population that can't do it. But of course the marketing blows it up, right? So like, oh, everybody's got to go gluten-free, or everybody's got to, do this or whatever, because it's whatever they're marketing. Like peanut allergies. Are there some kids that are very allergic to peanuts? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think it's still, and I used to know this number. I think it's like 2% or something, but don't quote me on that. It's like a very small number, but it kind of gets blown out of proportion. And I think in general, it's kind of like the dose makes the poison for everything, right? So some people will say, oh, I can't have dairy. And it's like, no, it's not that you can't have dairy. It's just that you just had 6 slices of pizza. Like, you should have just had 1 slice. And then, all of a sudden you're like, and I'm not saying this towards you, but just like people in general that are like, oh, I ate gluten and and I got sick. Well, it's like, well, yeah, you ate an entire loaf of bread. Like anything that would make anybody sick.
Yeah.
Or so it's not always necessarily that there's a food intolerance or an allergy per se, as much as it's just kind of like, just the dose makes the poison. You know, kind of like your milk chugging contest. You should have drank this much milk, not a whole gallon, because you'll puke, right? So it's not like
Okay, so what's that? So I should try the A2.
Try it.
Try the
See
A2
if it helps.
milk.
And it's it might not, but it's worth a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know like if certain farms are using that for cheese, because I get like extremely sick if I just have like milk or like soft serve ice cream. But like if I eat cheese or custard, I'm fine.
And I'm sure it's just the way that it's processed, or there's also the whole like raw milk deal, and like I'm a huge fan of pasteurization. It like kills all the bacteria. But people have different opinions on that. If you want to drink raw milk, like I don't recommend it, but some people swear by it.
That is a hot topic.
People
are saying you have to drink raw milk, that it's really good for you. So you're not on board.
I know. I mean, if somebody wants to do it, like I think it's a personal preference. I know some fantastic dairy farmers that drink their own raw milk. They swear by it. They love it, but they know their herd and they know the cleanliness of their herd. And pasteurization was invented for a reason, and it's there, you heat it up really hot. It kills that bacteria, you're almost like boiling it. And then through the process of milk is how you get like curds and whey, so you're separating it. And so, I would never drink raw milk personally, because people have like died from drinking it, right?
Wow. Are people saying that if you drink raw milk, you just have more health benefits from it?
That's what they say, but I would kind of debunk that. I mean, milk is a very healthy, nutritious drink regardless. And so it's kind of like grass-fed versus grain-fed. Like grass-fed is higher in omega-3s, but grain-finished is higher in omega-6. And the difference is minimal, so you're looking at like fractions of a billionth of a gram, right? So you're thinking, raw milk, it could be a little bit beneficial for you in parts of it, but like not enough to make a substantial difference. Like it's like omega-3s in beef. Like do they exist? Are omega-3s good for you? Sure. But if you want omega-3s, have salmon. Like that's going to trump beef any day when it comes to omega-3s.
Last one that I'm interested in, and then we actually probably have to go.
What? Already?
Beef tallow is the latest trend.
Putting it all over your face.
What are your thoughts on beef?
Oh God, I know. Like it's fine, right? Like if people want to do it, go for it. But what gets me is people that say you're swapping out seed oils for beef tallow and like creating these false health halos of like a fried food is a fried food. It doesn't matter if it's a seed oil or a beef tallow fried, like it's still fried food. Like nobody's gonna say. It's kind of like the whole like, oh, we removed this color from Fruit Loops, and it's like they're still Fruit Loops, like what I mean. So it's kind of like this whole thing of like, can you just maybe eat more fruits and vegetables?
What about the people that are putting it on their face as moisturizer, though?
Oh, like that?
Yeah. What even is beef tallow?
Beef tallow, so it's kind of like
fat?
It's pretty much, right? And so some people process it and they turn it into soaps and stuff, and that's how you get these like amazingly soft like homemade soaps. And there's some people really into it and capitalizing on it. Go for it if it makes you feel good. I mean, like I wouldn't do it, but if that's your thing, that's your thing. I'm more of a...
So you don't think it has any skin benefits?
I don't know enough about
I'm
it
not
to
gonna,
say one way
I'm
or
not
the
going to
other.
spend my money.
That is, again, where I stay in my lane of like, I can talk farming. I will get a cosmetics expert. The Eco Well. She's amazing. She debunks all of the nonsense in the cosmetic space.
Ooh.
Like,
There's always something new.
Yeah.
Actually, I got a facial. So I do a little bit of stand-up comedy too. I have a stand-up comedy routine called farmersonly.com rejection letters, a dating memoir. And it's all about like hashtag dating in agriculture. I'm the only person ever that's ever used that hashtag on Instagram. Seriously. Hashtag dating in agriculture. Like, is it that rare? So anyway, one of the jokes I tell is about like going on dates and looking nice. So like maybe you get a facial, right? Like maybe you treat yourself to a spa day, you get your hair done because you're like putting yourself out, you want to look nice on a date. Okay. So you do all of this, and I was getting a facial, and this woman was like, this serum is made with real bull colostrum. I'm like, that's not how this works.
Like, get it off my face.
And in walks in Joe the bull.
Yeah.
Hey.
He rolls over his head.
Yeah, he's like, I did that, ladies.
You didn't see the last of me. Oh my gosh. Well, with that, I think that's a perfect way to end. Thank you so much for all of this information. I think it's really helpful for people to kind of hear some of these misconceptions that a lot of people just kind of assume are real because we're just hearing it and then we're just believing it. So it's really cool that you debunk all of that stuff.
Thank you. I love what I do. I just, I travel constantly and I'm always on different farms sharing their stories, and I love what I do.
Yeah.
So.
Where can people follow you?
So my website is thefarmbabe.com. I'm Farm Babe on Facebook is where most of my followers are, is my Facebook page, Farm Babe, because I'm old, so I use Facebook.
We love Facebook.
I know, I love Facebook. Yeah. And so at the Farm Babe on everything else. So Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever. But
well, it was honestly so insightful having you in, and perfect for Dairy Month.
Yeah.
Wisconsinites, get out there, support your local farmers, get some cheese this month, get some dairy. But that's all the time we have for today. So we will see you next week on The Cabin.
Bye.
Bye.
Washington County, just 30 miles northwest of Milwaukee, is home to some of the most beautiful and well-maintained county parks across the state. Whether you are looking for a quiet spot to relax and enjoy nature, or a place to get active with your family or pets, Washington County has you covered. Quick facts about the 7 parks in the area. Glacier Hills County Park on Freeze Lake offers hiking trails, a natural play area, cabin rentals, and stunning views of the Kettle Moraine. Homestead Hollow County Park boasts a fishing pond, a dog park, rentable barn hall, and a tranquil atmosphere perfect for nature walks. Sandy Knoll County Park features a scenic disc golf course, an event barn, a beach on a pond, a dog park, picnic areas, and a playground for kids. Ackerman's Grove County Park on Little Cedar Lake has a swimming beach, and it's a peaceful spot for fishing, kayaking, hiking, and birdwatching. Visit the Tap Yard Beer Garden during the summer and enjoy trivia nights, live music, and food trucks. Heritage Trails County Park offers mountain bike trails, hiking trails, disc golf, a picnic area with views of Holy Hill. Leonard J. Yar County Park is set on a small lake with a sandy beach for swimming, fishing pier, carry-in boat launch, and a picnic and playground areas. Learn more about Washington County and all that it offers at www.washcowisco.gov.
The Cabin is brought to you by Praise in the Pines. This summer, find hope, healing, and community at Praise in the Pines Christian Music Festival on Saturday, July 19th, 2025. This is more than just a concert, it's a chance to connect with like-minded believers, hear real stories of faith and transformation, and experience the power of worship through music. With newsboys headlining and powerful speakers sharing messages of encouragement and revival, this event will leave you uplifted and inspired. Tickets are on sale now. Visit praiseinthepines.org to reserve your spot today. Today's episode of The Cabin was hosted by Andrea Belke and Megan Christian and produced by Andrea Belke. Audio engineering and video teasers by Nick Cardarella and Megan Christian, with social media by Megan Christian. Production support by Gavin McLean. The Cabin is a production brought to you by Discover MediaWorks. To learn more, head to discovermediaworks.com and don't forget to leave a review.